Hey guys, welcome back to Based MMA. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the most exciting fights that you can make in each weight class. And of course, this is going to be my personal opinion. Maybe you guys disagree with some of the fights that I make for each weight class. Let me know down in the comments below which fights you would love to see for each weight class. What would be the most exciting fights? And for the sake of just being a little bit different, I'm not going to pick fights that are already in the works or already going to be made next. I mean, the UFC has been doing an amazing job of making the most exciting fights. I mean, we got Sean Strickland versus Dricus, Alexander Volkanovski versus Holloway Toria, Sean O'Malley versus Chito Vera. Those are very exciting fights and probably some of the most exciting fights you can make for those weight divisions. But for the sake of this video and for the sake of being a little bit different, a little bit based, I'm going to be making the most exciting matchups for each weight class. And some of these weight classes are going to have more than one matchup because I'm greedy like that and I just could not pick a fight. So it is what it is, guys. Please make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps my channel out. Please help me reach 2,000 subscribers. I appreciate the support. I appreciate you guys hitting the like button. And anyway, let's get started with the flyweight division. What would be a fight that I would love to see in the flyweight division? I would love to see Manel Kape versus Brandon Moreno. I think stylistically it could be a very exciting fight. We've seen that Manel Kape is a great striker, very well rounded as well, very fast, and Brandon Moreno has great boxing, also a great wrestler. So I would just love to see this fight. I really do rate Manel Kape very highly. I think this guy has a lot of potential in the flyweight division, and I just kind of want to see him fight a higher ranked contender in the flyweight division. I mean, I know that he was supposed to fight Kai Kara-France back at UFC 293. Kai Kara-France ended up pulling out of that fight, so we didn't end up we weren't able to see that fight. And I don't know why the UFC hasn't rebooked that fight, because I think that also would be one of the most exciting fights you can make at that weight class, especially with the fact that Manel Kape has actual beef with Kai Kara-France. Like, they've been going back and forth and stuff. And so some of the most entertaining moments of the UFC 293 press conference was when Manel Kape was going at Israel Adesanya, and when he was throwing shade at Kai Kara-France and all that stuff. Like, that was pretty exciting. So I think Manel Kape versus Brandon Moreno, personally, stylistically, I just think it would be a very exciting matchup, and it's a fight that I would love to see in the flyweight division. Now, moving on to the bantamweight division. I mean, it's very exciting already, right? I think Sean O'Malley versus Chito Vera is probably one of the most exciting fights you can make in the bantamweight division. I mean, Chito Vera, incredibly durable, has a lot of power, imposes a lot of damage. Sean O'Malley, an incredible striker, a great counter striker, great leg kicks, has a lot of power, a sniper. So I think stylistically, that's already one of the most exciting fights you can make. But for the sake of not picking a fight that's already in the works or it's already going to happen in the future, I'm going with Song Yadong versus Sean O'Malley. I think that would be an incredible fight. I mean, Song Yadong has a lot of power, great striker, a lot of volume, great body kicks as well. Sean O'Malley, a sniper. Song Yadong, also very well-rounded. And I think Song Yadong just has a lot of potential, and I could just see this guy fighting for the I was gonna say fighting for the future, fighting for the belt in the next coming years. And I would just love to see that fight. I think stylistically it would be a very exciting fight. I think Sean O'Malley, has shown that, he can get gritty. I mean, he showed that in the Yan fight, where it was a very tough fight, but he was still able to pull through. And I know that fight was very controversial among fans, but I still think Sean O'Malley put an incredible performance against Peter Yan. And I think somebody like Song Yadong, who's, already this good at 27 years old. I mean, he's probably still has not hit his prime, and he's that good. I just think that matchup would be very, very exciting. I mean, I know Song Yadong is ranked number 7, so I think he has maybe two more wins, and then he could get a title shot, especially if they're against like really good contenders. And I just would love to see the fight stylistically. I just think it would be a very exciting fight. I think Song Yadong very well rounded. Sean O'Malley, a sniper. We really haven't seen Song Yadong get knocked out. So I think stylistically it would be a very exciting fight. I would love to see it. So it is what it is. Now, moving on to the featherweight division. And this is a weight class where I have two matchups that I think would be very exciting. Now, I'm going to start off with the first matchup. I think Calvin Kattar versus Edson Barboza would be an incredible fight, guys. I would love to see this fight. Calvin Kattar, incredible boxer. Edson Barboza, incredible kickboxer. Edson Barboza has looked pretty good. I mean, in his fight against Sadiq Yusuff, I didn't expect him to win that fight, and he really surprised me, especially when he got hurt in that first round and was able to come back. And Edson Barboza, when you give him the right matchup, he's one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC. Please don't give him a grappler. Please don't give him a grappler. And then Calvin Kattar, an incredible boxer. Also, I think very exciting. I just think stylistically it would be a very exciting fight. I would love to see it for UFC 300. Maybe like one of those fights on the prelims. I think it would be a fantastic fight. And it's a fight that I would love to see in the featherweight division. Now, moving on to another fight that I would love to see would be Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway. And this fight, I feel like it's going to happen at some point. I mean, we just don't know when, right? Because if Ilia Topuria is able to beat Volkanovski, maybe it happens next. I mean, I feel like the UFC should probably give Volkanovski a rematch, in my opinion, just because of everything he's done in the featherweight division. But if they don't, Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria is one of the most exciting fights, in my opinion, you can make in the featherweight division. And the reason why is because I feel like it would be one of those fights that is not like an early knockout. Like it's not like an early finish or a second round finish. I feel like it would be one of those fights that goes the distance. And Max Holloway, he puts the pace on people, has great cardio, great volume striker. I mean, we've seen how he makes these contenders look that are not Alexander Volkanovski. Ilia Topuria, an incredible striker, incredible boxer primarily, also has great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and great grappling. I would love to see their styles match up in a 5-rounder. I think it would be a very exciting fight. I can't imagine that fight being boring whatsoever. I think it would be one of the most exciting fights you can make in the featherweight division. And I do think that there's a lot of exciting fighters right now in the featherweight division. I mean, Yair Rodriguez versus Ilia Topuria would also be a very exciting fight. The reason why I didn't necessarily put that fight as the most exciting is because I think Yair Rodriguez has a big grappling hole, and I think Ilia Topuria can maybe capitalize on that. And I just think a Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria would be very exciting, especially if Ilia Topuria is able to get the belt. Like, it would be even more exciting in my opinion. So for that reason, I have Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria, and also Calvin Kattar versus Edson Barboza, some of the most exciting fights you can make in the featherweight division. Now, moving on to the lightweight division. Woo, I think I cooked with this one, all right? And I've seen some people talk about these matchups, but man, would I love to see Rafa Fiziev versus Dustin Poirier. I think that would be a fantastic fight, and it's actually a fight that makes a lot of sense. You know, it's a fight that makes a lot of sense. I mean, Dustin Poirier is coming off that loss to Justin Gaethje. I mean, Rafa Fiziev, I guess he's coming off a loss to Mateusz Gamrot, but technically it was a freak injury. But prior to that, he was coming off that loss to Justin Gaethje. So it kind of makes sense for these guys to hash it out. And I think stylistically, it would be an incredible fight. I mean, Dustin Poirier, incredible boxer. Also pretty, I would say, I guess he's a little more well-rounded than Rafa Fiziev. Probably has better Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but Rafa Fiziev has great takedown defense. Rafa Fiziev, great Muay Thai fighter, and I would love to see his style match up against someone like Dustin Poirier. I think the thing that gave Rafa Fiziev problems against Justin Gaethje was the size and just the power of Justin Gaethje. I mean, when Justin Gaethje hits you, he hits hard, man. Probably the hardest hitter in the lightweight division. I think Dustin Poirier is a little bit more technical. He likes to throw more in combinations. And I would love to see that style against Rafa Fiziev. I think that would be a very exciting fight. Another banger in the lightweight division that I would love to see, probably not going to happen anytime soon, would be Benoit Saint-Denis versus Michael Chandler. I think that would be an incredible fight. Michael Chandler, very well-rounded, low fight IQ, has a lot of power in his hands, great grappler. Benoit Saint-Denis, very well-rounded, also has a lot of power, very durable. I think those styles, I just think it would be a very explosive fight. And I think it'd be one of the most exciting fights you can make in the lightweight division. I mean, Benoit Saint-Denis has looked absolutely incredible. His head kick knockout over Matt Frevola, I mean, it gave me chills, man. Benoit Saint-Denis is a real deal. And I think this would be a fantastic fight in the lightweight division, if not one of the most exciting fights you can make in the lightweight division. I mean, Benoit Saint-Denis versus anybody is pretty exciting, but I would love to see his style against Michael Chandler. I mean, Benoit Saint-Denis versus a Charles Oliveira would be exciting. Benoit Saint-Denis versus Armin Sarukian, I think, could be also pretty exciting. So I think Benoit Saint Denis has to be in one of these fights, and I think him versus Michael Chandler could be a realistic fight. I mean, we'll see what happens between Michael Chandler and Conor McGregor if that fight even ends up happening, because at this point, who gives a fuck about Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor? I mean, I feel like that fight has lost all its like hype. Nobody really gives a fuck about it anymore. We're just like, okay, I guess we're waiting until summer. Like, who the fuck cares, man? Just make the fight happen. I mean, that's a siren. That's nor here nor there. But I would love to see Benoit Saint Denis versus Michael Chandler. Now, moving on to the welterweight division, I would love to see. I can't lie, this division is a little harder because there's a lot of grapplers and there's a lot of pure strikers. And right now there is a lot of movement in the welterweight division. I mean, we have Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards. Very interesting stylistic fight. Maybe not the most exciting, right? Because Leon Edwards is not the most exciting fighter. I think Colby Covington is actually entertaining, but he's not a guy that people love to see because he's more grappling heavy. But I think when Colby's in a scrap, it's pretty entertaining in my opinion. Even that Jorge Masvidal was pretty entertaining for me, but I am a big Colby fan, so I'm biased as hell. But I would love to see Ian Gary versus JDM. I think that would be a fantastic fight. I know we technically kind of saw that fight because JDM versus Kevin Holland is a little bit similar. I mean, Ian Gary and Kevin Holland are pretty rangy strikers. They like to fight at distance, but I think it would be a fantastic fight. Maybe Shavkat Rakhmonov versus JDM would also be pretty exciting because we've seen that Shavkat is incredibly well-rounded. JDM has good takedown defense. JDM is an incredible boxer, has a lot of power. Shavkat Rakhmonov also has a lot of power. So I think I'm going to make Shavkat Rakhmonov versus JDM. I think that would be a fantastic fight. It's a fight that I would love to see. And I mean, it's not more exciting. I don't know if it's more exciting than JDM versus Gilbert Burns, to be honest, because the reason I did not put that fight, originally was going to be on my list, but the reason I'm not going to put it on my list is because that fight is already in the works. It's rumored for UFC 299. So I kind of didn't want to put that fight here, but I think Shavkat versus JDM is still a pretty exciting fight for the welterweight division. So I think that would be one of the most exciting fights you can make, especially if JDM is able to rack a couple more wins. Shavkat gets one more win, an impressive win over Stephen Thompson. I think it would be a very exciting fight, and I could definitely see these guys fighting for the belt at some point in time. Now, moving on to the middleweight division. I think, well, I'm going to start off with the lower ranked fight. These two fighters are unranked. I'm going to go with Roman Kopylov versus Bo Nickal. I think that would be a fantastic fight. I mean, Roman Kopylov, incredible striker. He's getting a lot better in his striking. I mean, he's coming off back-to-back knockout wins. Bo Nickal, a very hyped contender in the middleweight division, hasn't really been tested. I mean, Bo Nickal has some of the best grappling, and we have seen that Roman Kopylov, sometimes he's not as good in his grappling. So I think stylistically it would be pretty exciting, but I think in the striking, Roman Kopylov would have an advantage. But I would love to see that fight, to be totally honest with you guys. I would love to see that fight. Maybe even more than the fight that I'm about to list. I would love to see Roman Kopylov versus Bo Nickal. I think that would be an incredible fight. It will show who's really the next contender in the middleweight division. I think it's going to happen at some point. Maybe right now it's a little bit too early for Bo Nickal. Maybe he doesn't want to take that big of a risk. But I would love to see it at some point. Now, the next fight is Dricus du Plessis versus Paulo Costa. And I know some of you, even including myself, I'm not the biggest fan of Paulo Costa. I think he's a bit overrated, but I can't lie. Stylistically, I think it would be a very exciting fight because Paulo Costa, a lot of volume striker, great body kiss. Dricus du Plessis, he's like a bull, heavy pressure fighter with a lot of volume. And I would just love to see their styles kind of clash, you know what I'm saying? Paulo Costa has shown great takedown defense. Dricus du Plessis, a guy with great grappling, great BJJ skills. I would just love to see that fight at some point. I know that it's probably not going to happen next, especially since Paulo Costa hasn't fought. Dricus du Plessis is about to fight for the belt. But I think stylistically, it's one of the most exciting fights you can make in the middleweight division. So for that reason, I would love to see that fight. Now, moving on to the light heavyweight division. I'm going to cheat on this one a little bit, guys, because, I mean, I was looking at the light heavyweight rankings, and I just think Jamal Hill versus Alex Pereira is the most exciting fight you can make in the light heavyweight division. I know that it's a little bit obvious and it's kind of the fight that most likely is going to happen next. I mean, we'll see because Jamal Hill is dealing with some other personal issues. But I think it's a fantastic fight. I mean, Jamal Hill beat Glover Teixeira pretty convincingly. And then Jamal Hill is also one of those guys that deceptively very technical and very fast with a lot of power. I mean, we saw what he did to Johnny Walker. He's knocked out a lot of guys and he's improved his takedown defense. And I would love to see Jamal Hill versus Alex Pereira because I think it would be a very interesting matchup on the feet. Alex Pereira probably the more technical striker out of the two, but we've seen that Alex Pereira doesn't necessarily have the best chin. So I think that's an incredible fight. I think that's the fight that I would love to see. I think that's the most exciting fight you can make in the light heavyweight division. And I know some of you, especially the Alex Pereira fans, you guys want to see Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira, and I'm so tired of it. I don't want to see it. God, I don't want to see it. And it's not even that exciting right now because Israel Adesanya just lost his belt in a very embarrassing way. It's not that exciting, guys. So don't even bring up Israel Adesanya, right? Shut the fuck up. And the next fight I think they should make was Yuri Prochazka versus Johnny Walker. I think that would be a fantastic fight. I mean, Yuri Prochazka is still one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC. Johnny Walker is also pretty entertaining. I know he's a little bit more patient these days, but I would love to see their styles match up. I think Yuri Prochazka versus Johnny Walker is also one of the most exciting fights you can make in the light heavyweight division. Now, moving on to the heavyweight division, this is an obvious one as well. John Jones versus Tom Aspinall. I mean, that has to be the most exciting fight you can make. Tom Aspinall has looked absolutely incredible in the heavyweight division. Definitely the most skilled, the fastest, maybe even the hardest hitter, maybe, because he's so fast and that accuracy. He might be one of the hardest hitter. Has one punch knockout power. John Jones, one of the best fighters of all time, made Cyril Gane look easy, like a walk in the park. So I think John Jones versus Tom Aspinall is the most exciting fight you can make in the heavyweight division, in my opinion. But second to that, in my opinion, would be Cyril Gane versus Sergey Pavlovich. I mean, Cyril Gane is still an incredible striker, very technical, very elusive on the feet. Sergey Pavlovich, a little bit more plotty, but has a lot of power. And I would love to see how stylistically those fights would match up, especially since I think both these guys will not be worried about the takedowns and stuff like that. I think it would be a very exciting fight in the heavyweight division. But anyway, guys, those are the most exciting fights you can make for each weight class in the UFC. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you guys think of some other matchups that maybe, might be better than the ones I listed, please make sure to comment down below. I'll definitely read those, guys. Please make sure to like and subscribe. And I hope you guys had a good day. And I'll see you guys in the next one.